Okay. Welcome back to the Pop. I am your host, Moraya, and I am so excited to be back here because this month is very important. Um, and important to Mastering Progress, important to many people across the world, um, many people in my life. Today, we're not dealing with that. Today starts, November 1st started National Adoption Month. Um, and, yeah, which brings a lot of emotions and thoughts and feelings and processes about, and I look crazy. I did just come from work. I've been working. I've been up since 4:30. I did my Bible study. Um, I do this every time, and I'm sorry. But anyway, I did my Bible study. I went to the gym. Then I went to work, and now I'm home. I had to take a little breather because I had to breathe. And now we're recording because I am keeping a commitment to myself to get my stuff done that I set my mind to. And these pants are just bothering me. But anyway, welcome to the Pop. I am the creator and founder of Mastering Progress, the brand, which the Pop falls under. And this podcast really is just about me being a mid 20-year-old now. I turned 25 since the last time I've been on here. Goodness gracious. And I don't know, we're here now. We do have actually, let me get some content for the Instagram, but we are live recording right now, so I will keep talking, but we'll post that later. Anywho, so instead of alcohol, which you can see I am a big fan of, I will never not be a fan of alcohol. We are detoxifying because it is the end of the day. I've stopped eating for the day, and so we have lemon and ice water to help with that process, and it's great. So I drink my green tea in the morning. I have been taking my antidepressants, so your girl should be good, hopefully. That's questionable, but I should be good. And we are on new ones, and I did have a little incident because of the new meds, but we'll talk about that later. We don't need to talk about it right now. Anywho, yeah, so November is National Adoption Month. If you don't know this, I am adopted. I was adopted at 6 months. My parents had set up for me to be adopted before I was born. So then when I was born, they did take me out of the hospital from my mother's arms. And 6 months later, I was adopted by my forever family. I am so sorry. With that being said, I do think that there are a lot of negative stigmas around adoption and a lot of things that people don't understand about adoption. So I wanted to make a 4-part series about what being adopted is, what it is from different standpoints, especially in that relationship, and kind of just chat about my experience as an adoptee. And obviously, I can't talk on everyone's experience because I've never been a parent. I've never been a sibling of a person who's been adopted, so I can't really chat on that, but I can chat on those relationships I've had. But anyway, on those relationships I've had as an adoptee and what it's meant to me throughout life, and how important I think adoption is. But today I think I kind of want to go over some key words in adoption, because I think they definitely help you to understand from an adoptee's point of view what life is, kind of. Um, and so, um, I think one of the biggest things that people get confused on is, you know, the adoptees' parents, basically. So it does vary when you do have a closed adoption versus an open adoption. A closed adoption, which is what I had, um, is when the parents, the biological parents, give up their child and don't, they don't want their, basically, they don't want their child to know who they are. They want them growing up without knowledge of who they are. And for some situations, such as myself, I do think that was the best option, because I was an affair baby. So my parents were married and had families and children of their own. And then they decided that we're going to do this cheating game, which I think is hilarious because I am the biggest person of do not cheat, do not lie to me. If you want to go off and do what you need to do, but don't cheat on me. And to find out that I'm a product of that is kind of crazy. But anyway, so my parents cheated on their spouses, got together, had an affair, and you know when they do the family tree and you're like this, that was me. So this is my dad, this is my mom, and that goes down to me. But they were married to other people at the time, so obviously, why would you keep that child? My mom was Catholic, so I think that definitely kind of contributed to her decision that she needed to not kill me and abort me. I think that was, Catholicism at play. And I don't know how she did it, but I mean, I'm here, so shoot. Anywho, so in that situation, I think it was kind of vital for them to have a closed adoption because, you know, growing up, not knowing my parents, yes, was hard. Or not knowing my biological parents, very important to say that. Not knowing my biological parents was very hard, and I feel like I didn't necessarily have the connection I wanted to with my parents. But it also would have put a strain on, I mean, me being born put a strain on 2 marriages already. But then also, I would have to deal with knowing about my dad, knowing about my mom. Do I go to his house? Do I go to her house? Do I, I have a few half siblings. So, that whole dynamic, that just would have been a lot on everyone involved. And so I think it was a good decision to definitely have a closed adoption. But then there's sometimes where the parent just cannot take care of the child and they still decide to have it. But they want to be a part of their children's lives. They want to be able to be there for every milestone and know that they can, contribute in that way. And so they keep a open adoption, which I think is very cool and has its own struggles in its own way, but sometimes that just works and that's what's best for people, and that's cool. It wouldn't have been cool for my family because I think that would cause a lot of tension and I might be a little more crazy than I am today. Just saying. But, so a closed adoption is when the biological parents give up all their rights as a parent, and says, I don't want them to know who I am, do not want them to kind of trace me back and find out about me, unless they hire a private investigator, which I do not have the money for. So I didn't do and haven't done. And then an open adoption is where, somehow the parents and the biological parents find that, partnership and kind of parent the kid together, or you're allowed to know who your parents are. And they may not parent you, but you do have a relationship with them, which works for some people. Once again, probably would not have worked for Moraya. So there's that. And then I really should have started off with the parent thing. So a term that a lot of adoption agencies use is forever family. And a forever family is when a kid gets adopted, and this is the family that they are going to, that's their family. That's who they are going to stay with for the rest of their lives. My forever family was made up of my mom and my dad and my little brother, who came 2 years after I was adopted. At first, it was just me, and I was a single, only child who got whatever she wanted. And then I call him my little brother, came along, and I was no longer a princess and shattered all my dreams. No, I'm joking. Honestly, he's my best friend. And we've definitely, we have a lot to work on in our relationship, but me and him have been through a lot together, and it was a great childhood because of him, and I'm glad I have my little brother, because he does rock, and I miss him. So that's that. I do miss my little brother. But anywho, so you have your forever family. Then you have your biological parents, which are the people who basically not donated, but their egg and their sperm created you. So my biological parents, I do not know. And then I have my parents. I think a lot of people are like, I say my parents, and they're like, oh, my goodness, people are texting me during recording. Anywho, it's okay. So when I say parents, I mean my parents. My parents are the people who raised me. Those are the only parents I've known. I was 6 months when they adopted me. You think I remember being in foster care or being in the hospital and this woman pushing me out? Like, no, I don't remember that. What I do remember is my mother, and our girls' days, and what I do remember is my dad, and that man, sometimes I don't know what was going on in his head, but I do. We're gonna hear a lot of ticking. These are clients and stuff texting me, but it's okay. I remember my dad and the funny the stuff he thought made sense that did not make sense, but like we understood it because we were raised by him. But then you look at other people and you're like, I'm so sorry he said that out in public or had the audacity to say that. But then like I wouldn't put it past him not to say it. So like, that kind of stuff. And it's because I was raised by them and I know them and I love them that that's who they are. That is who they are. And we love them despite all the flaws and all the issues they may have had with me growing up. We love them. And so I think that it's very important that a lot of times when people are adopted, they don't mean, when they say parents, they don't mean their biological parents, because a lot of us don't know our biological parents. When we say our parents, we mean the people who raised us and the people who took us in to make us the people who we are today. Those are my parents. My parents are Linda and Frederick, and that's it. That's all I know. Now I will say this. I just found out some big news about my adoption, and I'm still processing it, and I think I'm gonna take you guys along with me, but that will come up in the next few weeks. But in the state of New York, if you have a closed adoption, you are not allowed to see your original birth certificate. So that means that normally when you turn 18, if you have a closed adoption, in a lot of states, you're allowed to ask for your, for your original birth certificate or pre-adoption birth certificate. And up until 2020, you could not do that for the state of New York. I was adopted from Jamaica, Queens, in New York City. And so, like, that was kind of hard for me, because when I did turn 18, I was able to go back to my adoption agency and ask them for non-identifying information. So this was all information about my paternal, biological, my biological father, my biological mother, and some information about my grandparents and how many siblings I had and what they like to do and stuff like that, and how they met. And like it said, like, my mother was this short woman, and if you know me, I am 6 feet, so it must have come from my dad. And that, all this stuff about my family, but it did not give me about, like, information about where they lived or what their names were, or what any of my siblings' names were, and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, you're giving me a little bit, but you're not giving me everything that I want. And so for the time being, that definitely did hold my, interest enough. It definitely took me some time to process it, because there was stuff in there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is me, like, this is why, or where I get this from, and this makes so much sense now. And then it's like, but I want more. I want to meet these people. I want to know why I look this way, or where I get these, like, quirks from and mental issues from. Because, whoo, these had to be passed on. And so it was late at night, like 8 o'clock, and I was just like, why, what can I do besides hire a private investigator to find out more about my family? Like, there has to be something. Lo and behold, in the year of our Lord 2020, someone decided that we're passing a law, and now in New York, if you are 18 years old, you can ask for your pre-adoption certificate in the state of New York. And so, what did I do this morning? I copied that link, I sent it to my adoption agency, and I was like, is this true? Like, is this where I get the information? Is this where I send it to? Is this actually the truth? Because last time I checked, I wasn't allowed to know this information. And at 2:40 today, I got a response saying, yes, this is true. This is the page you get it from. That's what you got to do. And so now I'm kind of in shock, and I don't know what to think, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm one step closer to knowing who my parents are. my biological parents are. See, it's kind of hard to go back and forth, but I am one step closer to knowing who my biological parents are, and maybe even one step closer to knowing my siblings, and maybe even one step closer to really understanding what is going on in my head. Because, like I said, ugh. But it's kind of scary. It's like, I know I want to take this step, and I need to take this step because this is something I've been thinking about for a while, but it's also like, I'm scared because there's so many different things that can happen in the reunion process, and reaching back out and like going through that kind of possible rejection and not wanting to be rejected, so you're not going to reach out. But then it's like, if you don't reach out, you're not going to get the information you want. But then it's like, once I get that pre-adoption certificate, I have that information, and I'm like, okay, how do I move forward from this? Like, what do I want to do with this? And I don't know what I want to do with this. I don't know yet. But, that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just found out that I can actually get my pre-adoption certificate with my biological parents' names on it. And it's like, do I even want to meet them? Like, I'm not even sure I want to meet them. I feel like I'm going to have it. I'm going to stalk them on, like, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff first. Try to figure out who they are as people. Maybe take a couple of years to process this. Maybe take a couple of years and, like, just think about it and then reach out. But it's also like, I don't know yet because I don't have that information, but I'm not doing well with the fact that I can now go and get that information. And I've had about 3 panic attacks. So, yeah. But yeah, and also, just to clear this, make sure it's clear, I do have a birth certificate, okay? But it does have my parents' names on it. Once I was adopted, the legal birth certificate stated my parents' names, but it did say where I was born, the hospital I was born at, and all that stuff. But it no longer had my biological parents' name on it. So when I say a pre-adoption certificate, it is my original birth certificate that has been closed and sealed off, and that was never to be seen again. But now it's going to be seen again. And I think I just will start a journey that I've been waiting to begin. I'm not sure if I'm ready for it because I still have some growing to do and maturing to do, but I think it is a journey that I need to start. And I guess it's time to start it. So yeah, that's kind of my overall, a few key words that people need to know in adoption, a little bit about myself. Next week, I'll go more in depth into my adoption story and kind of how adoption has shaped my life and the relationships with my family, and then kind of go from there. And the last episode, I do have a really big announcement, so that's exciting. And it kind of correlates to all. It does correlate. It's based off of this, so that's really something I'm looking forward to and can't wait to share with all of you. So, with that being said, I am going to end this episode. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my detox, and I will talk to you next week in part 2 about